Most viewers who flip on HBO are used to hearing this. Or maybe this. These shows are far from their humble beginnings. If you really want to get a sense of the origins of HBO, wrap your head around this for a moment. On November 8, 1972, the town of Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, is digging out from Hurricane Agnes.
Get out now. Get out now. There's still time, but this is the warning that the river is starting to come over the dike.
Work on the dike has ceased. The water is expected to break through.
Back in the summer, the storm ravaged the town with 85-mile-an-hour winds and sent the nearby Susquehanna River surging over its dikes and into people's homes. Now, on this fall Wednesday, another storm is fast approaching. Charles Dolan, an entrepreneur from Cleveland, feels his gut clench as he tracks the devastation. It's not that his home is at stake, it's his dream that's in trouble. Dolan's worried that this next storm will blow down the lines to his first 325 customers. See, Dolan's got this business he's developed, a pay TV channel. He calls it Home Box Office. Maybe you've heard of it. Weeks before, Dolan and his sales crew descended on Wilkes-Barre to pitch this new channel to people who'd been living in a disaster zone for months. The roads are still underwater, and yet somehow Dolan and his salesmen convince residents to pay $6 a month for the cable service for what they call special programming. Now, upon closer inspection, what that special programming amounts to are some pretty bad movies and sports from Madison Square Garden. On this November evening, the schedule for Dolan's special channel includes a New York Rangers hockey game and a 2-year-old B-movie called Sometimes a Great Notion. On this night, Dolan's channel gets overshadowed by the local TV weather report. Dolan gets in his car anyway, slogs through the storm to the headquarters of the local cable company, presses a button to turn on the feed for his channel, and waits. The clouds roll in. The wind howls. The cable wires strain. But everything holds together. Throughout the night, despite everything nature throws at him, Dolan's cable service is working. And in just a few years, Home Box Office will be playing on a much larger field than Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. And this will become familiar to TV viewers all around the world. Hey, if you love this podcast, I bet you're looking for other great history and business podcasts to check out. Well, grab a notepad, because Wondery, the network behind this show, has other podcasts that, in my humble opinion, you're gonna love if you like the way we tell stories on business wars. Two of my favorites are Tides of History and American History Tellers, because I'm a junkie for backstories that tell us how we got to where we are today. And here's another, Industry Standard with Barry Katz. It's a great show about show business that gives you a peek behind the Hollywood curtain. And if you're looking for more variety, true crime, entertainment, or audio dramas, well, Wondery has got you covered there too. Just head over to apple.co/Wondery. That's apple.co/Wondery. Or if you're on Android, head over to Wondery.fm. From Wondery, this is Business Wars. I'm David Brown. The first cablecast in 1948 compressed over-the-air broadcast signals into wires, sending those signals out to connected homes in rural Oregon, Arkansas, and Pennsylvania. Now, this was 48. To the first people who laid cable for television signals, this was just a way to get broadcast TV to places where they couldn't pick up TV signals using rabbit ears or rooftop antennas. In other words, this was a workaround. But Charles Dolan didn't see it that way. See, to him, those wires looked like television's future. He saw conduits, pipelines for sending across huge streams of movies and live sports to homes all over the country. In fact, he dreamed that one day people could order up whatever movies they wanted and have them delivered over these very same cable lines. First, he tested the idea by wiring up hotel rooms in New York on a closed-circuit system that carried local news and tourist information. From there, Dolan got a city contract to wire Lower Manhattan with cable to fix dead zones, places where skyscrapers got in the way of the broadcast TV signals. It was a good idea, but the cost was astronomical. After wiring just a few dozen blocks, Dolan went broke. But it did prove something to him. His idea could work. It was just, well, it would just be hugely expensive. He needed to find a partner, preferably one with deep pockets. In our last episode, well, it was after the Great Recession, remember? Netflix was about to meet HBO on the battlefield that the premium cable network had dominated for decades, original content. But today, we're taking a step back here to explore how HBO, what used to be called home box office, went from serving B-movies to some 325 homes in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, to become the juggernaut of original shows and movies that it is today, the standard by which all other cable companies would one day have to measure themselves. But back before Dolan set up shop in Wilkes-Barre, there were a few painful pit stops along the way. First, Dolan needed money. That's where Time Incorporated, the publishing giant, came in. Time Incorporated was looking for new ways to expand its media presence beyond magazines and books. So the company sinks $30 million into Dolan's cable idea. Thing is, no one's signing up. Dolan's dream is in danger of flatlining because Dolan has to convince customers to pay for something they already get for free. TV. Pay for TV? Why would anyone pay for the stuff they could get over the air for free? Exactly. Bingo. Dolan needs to offer something the networks don't have, the stuff people can't get from NBC, ABC, or CBS. So in 1968, Dolan makes a first-of-its-kind deal with Madison Square Garden, the arena in New York City. He makes the deal to broadcast live sports exclusively on his new cable channel. But there's one catch. He isn't allowed to carry any games in towns within a certain radius of Manhattan. That would cut into ticket sales. And there are other competitors too, like the National Association of Theater Owners. They're worried that if channels like Home Box Office put movies on TV, well, that'll eat into their ticket sales. So the theater owners ramp up a campaign called Crusade for Free TV, warning people that paying for cable will eventually lead to the end of free TV. And that pitch starts to work. In California, lawmakers pass a bill outlawing pay TV. This is not a good sign for Dolan. So he decides best to start small, in some out-of-the-way place, low profile. He's got to get his operation off the ground before television companies or government regulators start to take notice and get antsy. So, on November 8th, 1972, the residents of peaceful Wilkes-Barre unwittingly take part in what amounts to the first shot in an entertainment revolution. Warner Cable's Star Channel and a third pay TV channel called Theater Vision arrive about a year later, and they want in on the action. But in that first year, Home Box Office wages an all-out war for just 8,000 subscribers. And they do it with the one weapon they have, mostly second-rate programming. But if we've learned anything from Netflix, it's that with the right outlet to customers, well, you can build an audience from just about anything. And by just about anything, I mean even content that's laughably bad. Stuff you might think no one is really going to watch. Yep, polka music. In 1973, 60,000 people plopped down $6 a month to watch the Pennsylvania Polka Festival on Home Box Office. Time Incorporated likes what it sees. Not the content, mind you, but the concept. The company purchases Dolan's share of HBO. With more capital behind it, HBO is able to add more quality movies to the lineup, also uncensored stand-up comedy. It adds in sports commentary like Inside the NFL and Race for the Pennant, and live boxing and tennis. And these shows are going up against some pretty big hits on free TV, programs like The Waltons, The Mary Tyler Moore Show, and All in the Family. Even with offbeat content, there's something different, a little more grown up about HBO. Now, these are the early days before HBO has really defined itself. And they're testing the waters, taking advantage of the fact that unlike broadcast TV, there are no 7 dirty words on HBO. In fact, since the federal government doesn't regulate cable the way it does broadcast TV, HBO can show nudity and sexual situations in late-night fare, stuff that tiptoes between porn and foreign erotica. This is the stuff the big 3 networks can't come close to offering. Turn on HBO after midnight, and you're likely to find movies like Emmanuel and Lady Chatterley's Lover. One look at the screen, and the difference is pretty obvious. So obvious, in fact, that it would become their slogan years later. It's not TV, it's HBO. By 1975, HBO is ready to go national. Then, it runs smack into a roadblock, entrenched technology that everyone calls Ma Bell. The phone company demands $25 million in transmission fees to let HBO grow beyond New York and Pennsylvania. Well, HBO isn't making anything close to that kind of money. Not yet, anyway. And besides, this feels like extortion. HBO executives are frustrated. They're looking for an alternative, so they gamble on doing it themselves. They invest in new satellite technology to carry HBO's signal nationwide. Now, HBO's not held hostage to AT&T anymore, but those satellites give them something more too, an unexpected global reach with an instant payoff.
Ladies and gentlemen, the thriller in Manila. Introducing Joe Frazier. In the red corner, the heavyweight champion of the world, Muhammad Ali.
In 1975, HBO buys the rights to the Thrilla from Manila heavyweight title fight between Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier. It's one of the greatest boxing matches of all time. Americans watch the fight live from the Philippines, and they are electrified. Viewers finally get it. With HBO, it's not just that they can watch stuff you can't find anywhere else. It's stuff that's interesting and fun to watch. And they start signing up for HBO at a rate of 30,000 new subscribers a month. By 1980, HBO has more than 1 million subscribers nationwide. Cable is becoming the new Wild West, and HBO has the biggest draw. People are literally chasing cable trucks down the street to have their homes hooked up. But on top of the basic cable channels, HBO now has competition from pay channels. Viacom's Showtime, the Movie Channel, the Home Theater Network, and the Disney Channel. But there's a problem. They're all going after the same reheated movies, and subscribers start getting sick of it. Soon, subscriber growth for all pay TV channels begins to stall. In the early 1980s, Bill Macy Jr. is working in HBO corporate communications. He knows things have to change dramatically. It can't keep going this way. And he lays it out for the marketing team. The consumers see it, and they're saying, I'm not paying this kind of money to see the same old movies I've already seen on regular TV 100 times. HBO needs something to excite subscribers again, to make them want to pay for TV again. We need to do something different, something fresh. When you get them into the tent, you got to have something to show them. We need to bulk up our programming. Okay, but no direct-to-video titles. That stuff's trash. Well, maybe just a couple, but only the really good ones. Macy identifies the problem, all right, but he's not the man who would find the solution. In fact, the person who would do that would not only fix the problem, He would redefine HBO. And his name is, you guessed it, Jeff Bewkes. We heard about Bewkes in the 2000s, when he had already gone on to run all of Time Warner, one of the world's largest media companies. But in 1997, Bewkes is a 25-year-old MBA looking to mint money at a New York investment bank in the commercial lending department. And he looks the part, too. Tall, slender, well-dressed, polished. Then a friend tells him about HBO. Friend says he watched a movie the night before, only months after it screened in the theaters. Really? This intrigues and confuses Bewkes. Where did you see it? On the Monday night movie? No, it's not on the networks, Jeff. You don't know about HBO? I mean, seriously, where you been? You mean pay TV? Yeah, something like that. Well, Bewkes signs up that very night. And like Charles Dolan back in the 60s, he too sees the future in those cable lines. Bewkes leaves his cushy job at Citibank to become a low-level salesman at HBO. He will eventually preside over the most successful expansion of original programming in television history.
Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, 1973. A little company called Home Box Office nets 60,000 subscribers that year off a polka festival of all things. Hey, I can't keep up with all these subscriptions. People are chasing our trucks down the street to hook up their houses. You really need to hire someone to help you. It's hard to find the right person for the job. Yeah, I know. I've been calling around to the people I know, but I haven't really heard back. In the 1970s, hiring relied on who you knew or who happened to see your ad. Well, today, growing businesses use ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. ZipRecruiter finds the most qualified candidates for you, turning what used to be a hiring headache into a business win. To try ZipRecruiter for free, go to ZipRecruiter.com/BW. That's ZipRecruiter.com/BW. Hey everyone, it's David, and I want to tell you about a new podcast out there that applies to anyone who has a job. So yeah, that probably means you. It's called Dear HBR. It's a workplace advice show from Harvard Business Review. They answer your questions with the help of experts and the latest management research. Because you know work can be a real drag. There's that passive-aggressive coworker who drives you up the wall, or your impossible boss, or your own direct reports you're trying to motivate. It's normal to be frustrated, but you spend a ton of time at work. Why not figure out a better way? Dear HBR will help. Each episode takes on a theme like being a boss for the first time, toxic coworkers, or office romances. Check out Dear HBR wherever you listen to podcasts.
Bewkes was number 2 when his boss, Michael Fuchs, starts pushing for original programming. Fuchs wants to make movies, stuff the networks won't touch, stuff they couldn't touch with cursing and mayhem and, yeah, more than a little skin, but in a tasteful way, of course. Starting in the early 80s, HBO programming starts pushing all of society's hot buttons. AIDS, abortion, homosexuality, corruption. HBO makes headlines with its racy lineup. Problem is, viewership is flat. Fuchs eventually leaves, and Bewkes becomes CEO. Bewkes knows what he is, a businessman, and what he isn't, a creative type. That lack of hubris carries him and HBO much further than one might think. Bewkes brings on a talented programming chief, Chris Albrecht. They struggle hard to come up with a sensibility, a feel, something that will set HBO apart from the competition. Bewkes gets the word out to writers. Hey, if you're doing something edgy that the networks pass on, bring it to HBO. Movies are fine, but they especially want series. Great series, programs that hook people in, keep them asking what happens next, keep them paying their monthly fees. The problem is, HBO already has something of a reputation for making junk. Reviewers say the plot of the football show First and 10 seems to revolve around getting the team's cheerleaders naked at least once an episode. Same thing for The Hitchhiker, a thriller that was equal parts gore and bare breasts. So why would top-tier writers and producers want to be associated with the likes of that? Well, for starters, there are a lot of hungry writers in Hollywood, some talented hungry writers too, and they all want a shot at making their dream show. Bucas sees an opportunity, one that would forever change viewers' tastes. Bucas guarantees these frustrated scribes that there will be no studio interference, no rules, no ratings metrics. But in return, they have to deliver scripts that are no holds barred. If you come to us, the show is yours creatively. You finally get to write the scripts you used to dump in the trash because you worried they'd never make it past the network censors. How's that sound? Bucas ups the ante big time, tripling the original programming budget to $700 million. Though some at HBO worry that not only does Bucas not know what he's doing, he's risking the whole network in a high-stakes gamble. Inside HBO, they develop a series of shows they call the Big Three, and they vault HBO to the top of the Hollywood food chain. They're gritty, adult stories that look without blinking at real-life problems with humor and depth. In 1998, HBO launches a glitzy series about the tribulations of four fashion and sex-obsessed New York girlfriends. Sex and the City talked bluntly about female sexuality, safe sex, and promiscuity in ways that were verboten on broadcast TV. But that show is a custard-filled Napoleon compared to what's in the pipeline. The next year, David Chase, an A-list writer, pitches the concept for a show about a mob boss who seeks therapy for job stress. Chase had already taken The Sopranos to the networks, but every single one of them had passed. Over-the-top violence and an unsympathetic cast of mobsters turned him off. But Chase had experience. He had written for the popular Rockford Files and Northern Exposure. HBO figures if they bring Chase aboard with The Sopranos, he'd be like bait to catch more top writers. HBO spends more than $3 million on the pilot. That's a whole lot more money than the typical network TV pilot. And then, focus groups give it the thumbs down. Bucas may not be a creative type, but he knows a hit when he sees it. So he pushes right past the bad data. Let's go for it. As long as we can keep making it at the same quality as the pilot, let's do this thing. The Sopranos becomes a monster hit, HBO's biggest, grabbing 112 Emmy nominations over 6 seasons. The Sopranos weaves itself into American culture as a modern Shakespearean tragedy. Then, Bucas and Albrecht take their most expensive gamble to date. They give the green light to Steven Spielberg and Tom Hanks to make their blockbuster miniseries Band of Brothers. Although Bucas and Albrecht vow before meeting with Spielberg not to spend more than $90 million, the series actually comes in at $120 million. Bucas says nothing about the blown budget and never meddles in Spielberg's creative process. And HBO? Well, HBO rakes in the bucks on Band of Brothers in syndication and DVD sales. Bucas and Albrecht have found their secret recipe: strong characters, adult themes, season-long story arcs, and great taste. With the success of The Sopranos in its quiver, HBO approaches writer Alan Ball, who's just won an Oscar for the film American Beauty. They have an idea for a show about, wait for it, a funeral parlor. And they give Alan Ball one instruction: smash some china. Break all the rules. I don't care if the characters are likable as long as they're interesting. Ball comes back with 6 Feet Under, a blend of black humor and drama and non-sequential storylines. The word is out to Hollywood creatives that they can push the boundaries at HBO. Viewers almost hate themselves for loving some of these HBO characters. As one reviewer puts it, sympathetic and interesting, yet unlikable and morally abhorrent. The reaction is always strongest when a storyline doesn't go the way viewers think it should. But here's the thing. HBO has kept its word to the creatives, and another golden age of television is born.
When you walk through the garden.
The next programming milestone for HBO is The Wire.
Down in a hole.
About the connection between drug culture, politics, and media. It's a critical success. It shows just how far HBO would let writers push the limits. The Wire is a great example of Bukas's broad view of success. Return on investment isn't always measured in dollars. The Wire's ratings are low in the first few seasons, but the show gets rave reviews and it's cheap to make. Bukas knows that he needs people to flock to HBO and pay monthly dues, and the siren song of great reviews and great word of mouth is as good or better than cash. And boatloads of Emmy Awards don't hurt either. HBO starts piling up the golden statuettes in 2002 and has won more since than any other network. By the mid-2000s, Bukas and Albrecht are on a long hot streak. Their risky gut instinct bets have created a growing stable of shows that draw in new subscribers and earn serious cash when they hit reruns. The Sopranos, Sex and the City, and Band of Brothers bring in record-setting licensing fees when the rights sell to basic cable. HBO's business balloons to 29 million subscribers and nearly $4 billion in revenue by the time HBO runs the final episode of The Sopranos in 2007. By that point, the name HBO is synonymous with quality. But with Sex and the City, The Sopranos, and 6 Feet Under all ending their long runs, well, people start asking, what's next? Is HBO's dominance only as strong as its latest shows? Would viewers keep watching when the big three were gone? Other cable channels have taken a page from HBO's premium television playbook and start creating critically acclaimed shows of their own. AMC scores with Mad Men, a show that HBO had seen the script for and declined to make. And then, in what would amount to an historic turning point in television history, another question surfaces. Would fickle audiences turn off HBO just because they don't like a particular episode? That question comes up in 2007 in the final episode of The Sopranos. The final episode is nothing short of a pop culture phenomenon. Everyone's watching on that Sunday night. Mob boss Tony Soprano sits in a diner in New Jersey as his family arrives for dinner. He watches warily as sketchy types walk by their table. The audience senses this will end badly. It's just that nobody knows how. Would Tony and his family get off or somehow survive again? And then... Don't stop! In the final seconds, the screen suddenly goes black. No one knows how the scene just ended. Some think their cable went out. People are screaming at their television sets. HBO has seared this scene into television history, but its most successful shows are gone. On the next episode of Business Wars, can HBO maintain its dominance as more players get into the premium content game, including a certain former DVD rental company called Netflix? I hope you enjoyed this episode of Business Wars. We invite you to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, NPR, Spotify, and TuneIn, or wherever you get your listening right now. You'll find a link on the episode notes. Simply tap or swipe over the cover art. You'll also see some offers from our sponsors. We hope you'll support our show by supporting them. And if you like what you're hearing, we'd love you to give us a 5-star rating and review us. And make sure to tell your friends and show them how to subscribe too. We also want to know, which business war would you like to hear about? Please leave us an answer at Wondery.com/survey. That's Wondery.com/survey. And while you're there, tell us a little bit about yourself. I'm your host, David Brown. Gina Keating, author of the book Netflix, wrote this story. Karen Lowe is our senior producer and editor. Sound design by Jeff Schmidt. Our executive producers are Ben Adair, Marshall Louie, and Hernan Lopez for Wondery.
Hollywood, California, 2018. 40 years later, and that little company called Home Box Office is now just known by its acronym, HBO. Word spread around town that this was the channel for great, creative, original programming. You know, the stuff cable just wouldn't show. And every once in a while, word spreads around Hollywood's biggest offices that someone needs to find a great candidate for an open position. The smart companies know that ZipRecruiter is the smartest way to hire. Hey, I think you'll really like Anna. I just posted the ad on ZipRecruiter, and within a few days, I found her. I don't think I've ever had hiring be so simple. She sounds great. You're not the first person who's told me how easy ZipRecruiter is to use. Oh, it was great. Their smart matching technology put me in contact with the perfect candidates quickly. I didn't have to search for hours. They found me. Wow. I'm in need of a new sales coordinator for my department. Maybe I'll check it out. Yeah, you have to. It's pretty insane that their technology learns what you're looking for, identifies the right people, and then invites them to apply. Invites them to apply. I'm going to go post my job right now. Good thinking. ZipRecruiter built the platform that finds the right job candidates for you. These innovations have revolutionized how you find your next hire. 80% of employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site in just one day. Find out today why ZipRecruiter has been used by businesses of all sizes to find the most qualified job candidates with immediate results. You can try ZipRecruiter for free. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/BW. That's ZipRecruiter.com/BW. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.